Thanks so much for tuning into the trade setup. I'm Neeraj Shah. Let's take stock of what's happened in the US markets overnight. They ended off from the day's low, but still ended lower. So that's the key point. The NASDAQ was down about 1%. So keep that in mind. The other cues, the yields have inched up or stayed higher. That's the key point at 4.29 now. The dollar index is at 105. So the cues aren't the most constructive for our markets, you have to say. GIFT Nifty may be indicating a flattish start, but this is the news flow. The US news flow first. The home purchase applications fell to the lowest since 1995. But the point is the service gauge rose, the US service gauge ISM data rose to a 6-month high, topping rate hike odds on the strong ISM services numbers. James Bullard says Fed should stick to its plan for one more rate hike. And the Pentagon pledges thousands of US drones to counter China. Well, that part of the rivalry continues. There's other news flow beyond US as well. The Asian markets are largely soft following the US markets correction. Bank of Poland cut rates by 75 basis points with inflation still at 10%. Sugar trades near 11-year highs on renewed worries over supplies. It was at 11-year highs yesterday, continues to stay that way today. And in other news, Pepsi is going to build a $93 million plant in Assam, as per Bloomberg. Well, this is great news as well. So one more FDI, not as large, but not bad. $100 million is decent. So this is a news flow. Like I said, the GIFT Nifty could be indicating a flattish start to maybe marginally lower. So that's the long and short of it. In fact, flattish, 19,637. So, we've had 4 days of gains. So I wouldn't be surprised if there is, a bit of a pullback. And frankly, in yesterday's session, if you look at the gains as well, the markets were largely lower. Then the stocks which had not rallied, HDFC Bank, the lone ranger in the banks per se, and consumer stocks drove the markets higher, to the 4th day of gains. So it was a very narrow move. Don't know if such moves can last. The FPI long short ratio has consistently improved. Even on yesterday's session on the 5th of September, sorry, day before yesterday, it was about 52.36 and would have probably inched higher on the index. So that is actually a constructive thing. But we've had 4 days of gains. Usually in this period, in the last 1.5, 2 months, at higher levels, you've gotten sold into, at lower levels, you're getting bought into. I believe this would be the first time in many weeks that we've seen 4 consecutive days of gains. Let's see if this lasts. I somehow believe that while the decks are not bad, the global cues aren't the most supportive, and therefore won't be surprised if there's a bit of a pullback there. Dealing rooms are actually talking of money coming into stocks and sectors which haven't rallied. So we saw that yesterday in the large caps, but that's fine. We saw that at the broader end of the spectrum as well. Frankly, even look at the price volume buzzers at the mid cap end and the small cap end of the market, or in yesterday's session. So all of a sudden, SpiceJet went up on rumors, which I don't want to spell out right now, but was up 20%. But you saw paper stocks come up. You saw sugar stocks move higher. So that is the nature of the move. And Tata Consumer was up yesterday, but by that virtue of the clarification that they've given, they don't know if there's a bit of a cool off there. So in fact, let's begin the stocks in news if we can with Tata Consumer and then go on to others if we can, please. So Tata Consumer has issued a clarification on media reports of the company planning to buy Haldiram's stake. It says the company is not in negotiations with Haldiram's. So yesterday the stock was up 4%. My guess is presumably on the Reuters note that they are going to buy this stake. This thing that if they buy in a company which has got, and if they get it at a good valuation, they have about 2800 crores of cash in books, right? They buy at a good valuation, it's EPS accretive, it helps their FY24 or 25 EPS, and therefore its trade should lead to some bit of positivity for the stock. Now that the company said it's not happening, there's a bit of a cool off there. So watch out for Tata Consumer. TCS is the other one from the Tata stable. It's gotten a 5-year IT deal worth 800 million pounds from Jaguar Land Rover. So watch out for that one. Adani Total Gas, it's received work order from Ahmedabad Municipal Corporation, which includes building and operating a 500 tons per day capacity bio-CNG plant at Pirana for 20 years. Adani Total Gas. The stock was very active, I think, yesterday. Do watch out for this one today. Then RECs announced a commitment to increase loan portfolio of green projects by more than 10 times per year by year 2030 to 3 lakh crores, with the presumption that most newer power projects that are getting set up are green. Though there are some thermal power projects as well, but most are green. Well, this could be the kind of buoyancy that REC sees um, in loan book offtake. So do watch out for REC. I mean, it's not a major announcement, but something tells me that the street might like this. So let's wait and watch. Promoter buying seen in Adani Power. The promoter Fortitude Trade and Investment bought about 36 lakh shares on September 5th, and Minda Corp promoter Ashok Minda bought 2.75 lakh shares on September 4th. Now, because I've spoken about Adani Total Gas and Adani Power, just want to standard disclaimer that Adani Media AMG Media Networks owns 48% stake in Quintil Business Media, which is the owner of BQ Prime. They are also in an MOU to acquire the balance stake as well, and it will become a wholly owned subsidiary of AMNL. So just wanted to lay out that disclaimer. Then Amber Enterprises could be interesting. CLSA has initiated coverage with the recommendation of a buy. The price target has been set to 3650, which implies a 21% increase from last price. Yesterday, Voltas viewers on Motilal Oswal and Jeffries initiating notes was up and about in trade. Room AC. Amber Enterprises is the back-end manufacturer for a bunch of RAC companies. And therefore, if there is some traction being seen, then people believe that space could be bottoming out, because remember, it's not at the greatest because of unseasonal rains, etc. It's not at the greatest of times, but if that space seems to be bottoming out, it would be constructive for Amber as well. So do watch out for Amber Enterprises. I think today there is a clutch of reports that have come out on these EMS companies. So I think Kotak has a negative view on Dixon, but CLSA probably has a positive view on Dixon. I think it was CLSA. So a bunch of things happening there. Let me just try and tell you. Yeah, CLSA on EMS companies. I believe it's today's note. They have an outperform rating on Dixon with a target price of 5675. So that is interesting as well. And then there is an IDBI note on IDBI capital note on chemicals, which again brings out the point that I was making, that things are getting bought into which are not quite there. So they say majority of the chemicals witnessed healthy uptick in pricing in August. They note that certain chemical prices are exhibiting smart recovery in prices owing to demand recovery, abating of intensity in dumping by Chinese players, rise in crude prices in hopes of strong stimulus measures in the Chinese economy. They expect pricing support for commodity chemicals at this juncture. Well, so that's what could be happening in chemicals, and therefore it's interesting that the chemical stocks are trading where they are. Never know, there might be some upsides onto those names as well. So what else is there something that I've missed out? I'm sure I have. Yeah. Morgan Stanley has the bunch of notes on financials. Macquarie has come out with an HDFC Bank view and a top pick idea out there. So let's see what happens there. Yesterday, just before we wrap up, or the last 30 days, I've heard 3 or 4 very smart commentators talk about how banks are quiet right now because July, maybe even August has outflows, but July, which was inflows, was peppered or dominated with India dedicated flows and not passive flows. Once passive flows make a move, if they do in India, and with the presumption that they do because it's an large investable market now, relative to some of the others, even better placed despite the valuations, you will actually see some of these index heavyweights start to make a move. So be mindful of that. The banks haven't rallied thus far, but everybody's constructive there and could be an interesting pocket to monitor. So keep that in mind. A clutch of interesting conversations. So much happening on the bio CNG side and otherwise ethanol side. The best man to put it into perspective is Shashi Joshipura of Praj Industries. He joins in at 9:30 a.m. We, of course, talked to Shriram Properties, Murli Malayappan at 11:30 a.m. There's lots happening in that business as well. It'll be interesting to see what Shriram has to say about their business. There's a lot of notes that have floated around talking about the kind of growth that the company may see. So it could be interesting to see that as well. Thanks so much for tuning in to the trade setup today. Have a great day, and to everybody out there who is celebrating and even otherwise, PQ Prime team wishes everyone a very happy Janmashtami.